Hi, I am excited to be here and introduce myself to you all here, these private unicorns. I want to tell you, some of you know me, some of you don't, some of you know my work, and some of you don't. So I want to tell you how I came to be here doing what I do. In 2023, I had been doing Reiki and crystal sales, online crystal sales for 4-ish years. And I stood up on a pedestal and I said, I'm going to go brick and mortar and I'm going to heal the fucking world from this space in this tiny town of Hawthorne, Nevada. And I talked about it to everyone and I told everyone and I invited everyone and I knew that was my next best thing. That was my next level. That was the next thing I was going to do. And after a year of struggling in that shop, I had to make a decision. I was pulling for my mortgage to put into the shop and it was the hardest thing and it felt like the biggest fail. And I started with one simple question of what if I do? What if I do close the shop? Because again, it felt like failure. It felt like I'd worked so hard to get to this space just to fail. And I kind of at that moment wanted to walk away from everything. It felt like in this lifetime, I felt like it was too hard. It was just too fucking hard. It's not supposed to be this hard. And I had thought to myself as I closed the shop, maybe in this particular lifetime, I'm not supposed to be a regular human. I'm just supposed to be a good old 9-to-5er, working, getting that paycheck, collecting it from the man, right? That's what I was supposed to do. I sat with it and I thought about it and I thought there was nothing else that I wanted to do. Like healing is in my heart. It's in my soul. I was doing Reiki at that time, Holy Fire Reiki, teaching people and also just sharing it with the world. And there was nothing else that I wanted to do. But I also knew that I was tired of beating my head against the wall. And I was invited to a breathwork session that I almost didn't go to because I was so tired in that moment. I was so tired. I was so tired of sitting in masterclass after masterclass, in course, in container, in space after space after space, in the same room as women that were sitting next to me going, oh my God, just you speaking, I made $1 million. Oh my gosh, just you being in this energy, I'm bringing in the money. I was so tired of that. I was happy for them, but I couldn't handle it anymore. And I didn't want to be in another room where I thought something like that would happen. So I, again, almost didn't go. And then I thought to myself, if this is the last thing that I do, I'm going to do this session. I'm going to show up, let it be the last thing I do. I showed up, camera off, not really wanting to be there. And the host was so kind. She said, please turn your cameras on and share with us one word that you're bringing in here. And I shared that I was in an uncomfortable space and I shared it from a space of love and I sat through that session and I will never forget what opened up inside of my body because I had been so disconnected from my body. I didn't even know that this thing and this thing were supposed to, can I have a body? What is that, right? Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like the mind's doing one thing and maybe you have the mind under control or you feel like you have the mindset, but the body is missing? Or maybe you didn't even realize at all the body was a thing like me. So I sat through that session. I didn't sit through it. I breathed through that session. It was like a full body workout. And I saw the day that little Brandy, I'm going to let you guys know how old I am. I'm 43. Little Brandy in kindergarten had her quarter, right? And I was in the line and you could get on Fridays in Montana, you could get an orange creamsicle or you could get your bag of popcorn. And there I was in the line and I decided in that moment that it was so much safer to just stay in the line and then you get your prize. Then you get your treat. You don't want to act out. You don't want to be caught out of the line. You don't want to cause a scene. You don't want to cause visibility. Excuse me, because then you don't get your prize. So here's me standing on the stage trying to announce to people, virtual, proverbial stage, to announce to people to come see me, to be in my world, to receive what the magic that I have to share with them. But every part of me is like, no, red flag. We don't want to be seen, right? So from there, everything started to shift and change and open up. And I started doing breath work, not because I wanted to teach it, but because I had now found a new way into all the stories that were tucked inside of me. And I wanted more of that. I wanted everything to be breath work. So much that I forgot about Reiki for a minute until my partner said, hey, do you remember Reiki? And I said, no, who's she? And then I realized that you could pair the two together. But the more work I did, the more I wanted to share it with people because I knew that if I was feeling this way, I knew other people were feeling that way also. So I started sharing it and then I started getting people that wanted to work with me. And so here I will openly tell all of you that I have been sober for 4 years. Alcohol, many drugs before in the years, but mostly alcohol. In 2024, my dad and my soul dog were both diagnosed with cancer in the same week. And then my dad, my soul dog lasted 6 weeks, and my dad passed away the next year. And I sat on the bed next to him and held his little tiny hand as he forgot who I was. And I had to sit there with him and be him and hold him and hug him. And I know without a doubt, with every fiber of my being, that if I was not regulating, if I was not breathing, if I was not going inside and doing the work, that I would be back to drinking and I would be back to drugging, and that's absolutely certain. So the more work that I did on myself, the more I was able to open up, the more I was able to literally regulate myself to receive, because if our body is blocking, then we are not bringing things in. And if our body feels unsafe, I know we've all heard it here, your body will always choose the comfortable, the known hell over an uncomfortable peace, because it's, again, it feels safe because it's known. We want that. We want to stay with the devil that we know versus a devil that we don't know. So the more work I've done on myself, the more I've been able to open up. I am sitting here in my dream house, in a house that I didn't feel that I was worthy of, in a house that I didn't feel that I deserved, in a house that I didn't feel that I could hold because of where I came from and all that I've overcome. But here I am, literally living in it. We've been here for 1.5 years, and it's amazing. I have last month called in, between cash and prizes, $112,000 in value in cash and prizes. And I know that that's expanding the capacity to allow for the rest of the actual money to come in, which is really cool. I have a client named Jackie who has been breathing with me for 1 year now. And I love we meet every single week, and the stories that I get to hear from her are absolutely fabulous. She has created her own app. She just moved across country because she wanted to be warmer and she didn't like where she was. I just got off the phone with her, and she started calling in connections for corporates for working with apartment complexes and their sister complexes and all of those things. And we just 2 hours ago, we just did a breathwork session together. And before we came in, at the beginning, I said, "How are you feeling?" And she said, "I'm running up against some roadblocks, and it's really hard to get these people on the phone because I've got to give them insurance, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that." And we breathed, and we worked through it, and we brought up the stuff. That's the part that's missing. We don't bring up the stuff. We think we can shove it down and it'll be okay, but it's not, because it's in here. So we do this really fun thing where we pull it all up. It's not fun, but we pull it up and we go, oh, that wasn't so bad actually, right? And then we get to look at it, and then from there we get to move it. We get to decide if we need to just shift the relationship, or do we actually want to move it out of our body. And so the really cool thing is we got to move it out of our body, and we know that even if the world around isn't rainbows and butterflies, if I feel better in here, then everything feels easier. And this is the greatest, because an hour ago, she sent me a voice note and said, after we breathed, I called the people and everything went through smoothly. I met with someone who was nice. I met with someone who advanced my paperwork, and it's all done and it's all met. And now she's hanging flyers and she's promoting to the apartment complex now that they have all the rest of the paperwork. So it's just a beautiful thing. And I wanted to be able to share all of that with you. And because of understanding the struggle, and because of knowing what you can come up against, and understanding that we can have all of the glory and all of the blessings, but if we don't feel safe in here, none of it really matters. And I know that's hard, because when I was broken and broke, I didn't understand that, because I thought, just give me the money and let me see then. But now the feeling that's inside makes everything so much easier. And that's really cool. And that is why I created Peace and Paydays, a 6-month container to come and work with me, so that we can heal your body from the inside out, creating whatever life it is that you dream of. If it's more money, if it's the bigger house, if it's the move across the country, allowing your body to be able to feel safe to hold it so that you can actually call that in. I thank you for spending this time with me.